What's up, all you lovely people? Welcome back, or welcome for the first time. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by. It really does mean a lot to me. Today, we're going to be talking about the ninth night of 31 Days of Halloween Horror, so stick around.
You're afraid of dying.
How do you know? You've never tried it before.
All right, everyone. Night number 9. We're almost a third of the way through. Um, Once again, the poster, the thumbnail, it's a clue as to what the movie is. 1 second, I'll get to that. Before that, please hit that like button. Consider subscribing, it does help me out. Leave comments, all that jazz. That YouTube algorithm help get some more exposure for the channel. With that out of the way, for night number 9, I chose The Lazarus Effect. That's right, this movie I feel kind of went under the radar, came out a little bit ago. Um, I really enjoy it. I've watched it once or twice before, but it's been a while. The movie came out in 2015, and I saw it when it came out, not in theaters, unfortunately, but I saw it when it came out, and I've watched it once since then, but it's been a while. And I gotta say, I really enjoy the movie. I think it, as I said, it went under the radar, but I think it's kind of underappreciated. So a few details about the movie. It was directed by a David Gelb, I think is how you pronounce his name. He doesn't have many feature credits prior to making this movie in 2015, and since then he looks like he's done kind of like documentary style movies. I forget what they're called, but basically like a documentary about a person. um, he did one called Stanley. He's directed an episode of the Obi-Wan TV show. He directed an episode of Marvel 616, a lot of stuff like that, but not many features, and from what I've seen, nothing else horror on his resume. It was written by Luke Dawson and Jeremy Slater, and Luke Dawson, once again, not much under his belt in terms of writing credits. Jeremy Slater, however, is pretty popular. He's written for The Umbrella Academy, fantastic Netflix show. He wrote for Moon Knight, which is another Marvel project on Disney Plus. And what my favorite thing that he's got on his resume aside from this is he wrote for the Exorcist TV show. Now, if y'all haven't seen that, you really should go watch it. It is a very, very good follow up to the original Exorcist movie. Much better than Exorcist Believer is. I tell you that right now. You should definitely give it give it a watch. I'm not sure where you can watch it, but you should find it and watch it. The first season is absolutely amazing. All right, the movie stars Olivia Wilde, who's been in a ton of stuff. She plays Zoe. It also stars Mark Duplass as Frank. You'll know him from movies like Creep. He was also in The League, which was a very underappreciated TV show as well about fantasy football. Very good comedy. Also stars Evan Peters as Clay. The biggest thing he's probably been in is the X-Men series as Quicksilver, but if you're really into horror, you'll probably know him from the first, like, I don't know, 9 or 10 seasons of American Horror Story. And then Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, as Nico. Now, the synopsis of the movie: a group of medical researchers discover a way to bring dead patients back to life. Doesn't give you much. That's the synopsis of the movie. The title of the movie, The Lazarus Effect, is a reference to Lazarus from the Christian Bible, who was dead for 4 days and then Jesus brings him back to life. Some people say that this is a very loose adaptation, modern telling of Frankenstein, but I don't really see it. There is no assembling of figures and bringing them back to life or anything like that. So you could make the argument, I guess, but personally, I don't see it. So the story as I see it: Zoe and Frank, Olivia Wilde and Mark Duplass, are a couple. They get a research grant from this university to work on this project. The project is working on a way to bring patients back to life. In the movie, they state that it's not really to bring them back to life, it's really to give doctors and physicians a little bit more time to save someone's life. So if you had an extra 30 seconds or an extra 30 minutes to work on a patient before they died, you could save, an innumerable amount of people. So that's what the project is for. Now, throughout the movie, Zoe has this dream, and it's a recurring dream where she's a little girl in this hallway and it's on fire. And as you come in closer on this door, you kind of hear screams, faint screams, and then all of a sudden there's these hands that reach out from under the bottom of the door, and that's when she wakes up terrified. That's a reoccurring theme. or reoccurring dream rather, and it comes back at the end. But in working on this project, they do an unsanctioned experiment on a dog. Like they use a recently deceased dog as a test subject. Now, as I said, it's unsanctioned, so the university doesn't know about it. They're not supposed to be doing any testing like that, but it's successful. The dog comes back to life, but it starts acting really peculiar. And essentially, the way this thing works is they have this serum that they've developed, gets injected into the brain, and they fire some electricity in there, and it comes back. Well, one thing they projected to happen is the serum would kind of dissipate after a little bit of time of being back to life. It would kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but it would kind of just leave your system, you know. One thing they noticed with the dog is it doesn't stay there, it doesn't leave, rather it just stays. So the dog starts, as I said, acting very peculiar, getting kind of aggressive, which is something he never did before that. When the dean of the university finds out about the unsanctioned experiment, technically that's a breach of their research contract, so the project gets shut down, and all their equipment, all their research gets confiscated. They don't like this, obviously, because they've been working on it and they think, big pharma is going to come in, probably try to sell it to military or something, and just make a shit ton of money off of it. So what's supposed to happen is they're supposed to come back. This company that is going to be taking the research is supposed to be coming back like the next day. Now all of their access to the lab has been revoked except for one person, and she's a journalist or something like that who's following them around, kind of documenting their experience. She still has access to get in there, so she decides to let them all in so they can replicate the experiment so that they can keep the research. Well, while they're in there, a little bit of an accident goes down and Zoe gets killed. They try to bring her back via traditional means, CPR, chest compressions, stuff like that. Doesn't happen. Frank, in his trauma and grief, decides, well, we just happen to be working on a project that brings things back to life. Now's the best time I can see for a human test. So they do it. They perform a test on her. Initially, it doesn't look like it's going to work. And then she pops up. And it's a very good scene where she pops up because she kind of does the Undertaker, just sitting straight up. And she comes back. She also starts acting a little weird. And she seems kind of traumatized by the event. Once again, the drug does not dissipate. It stays in her brain, and she starts, like, neural patterns start going crazy. Like a lot more brain activity than there should be. She realizes she actually went to hell. Like when she died, she went to hell. And she gets a little bit upset about it. And she recalls that dream. Then the documentary person, the person who's recording it, it somehow lives that dream with Zoe. So she feels it, she sees it, she's actually in there. She actually manages to get burned while in there. So since coming back, Zoe's kind of developed powers, which is weird. She can like read minds, she can tell what people are going to say before they say it, but she can also like move things and make things happen just with her mind. And it's kind of creepy. I don't know how much more I want to say because that's when the movie really starts kicking off. One thing I do want to point out, kind of a standout, Olivia Wilde really kills it, especially post death. Like when she comes back, she's got like that 1,000-yard stare, like those dead eyes, and she plays the villain really, really well. Like she really does stand out in this movie, and all the other characters are great too. Mark Duplass, can't count him out. He's always wonderful. Evan Peters kills it. Donald Glover, he's great in his role. There's a point where some stuff happens and you really feel every word he's saying. It gets, they all do really good in the movie, but for me, Olivia Wilde really stands out. They said, like I said, especially post death. And the movie is a little bit, it's kind of low budget, and you can tell that when you watch it. However, I think it uses everything it has very well. Like there's this one, I don't know why it gets me, but there's this one shot of like a security camera that it comes back to every once in a while where you just see down this hallway, and it always gets me. I don't know, everything that happens in there is just tension filled, and that's a lot of what this movie has, is a lot of tension, not knowing what's going to happen, and it works well. I really, enjoy the movie. I don't think I've ever heard anyone else talk about it which is a shame because I think it's pretty good. I think it's underrated. And speaking of rated, I'm gonna go ahead and give this movie a rating. And after thinking about it, rewatching it, I think I'm gonna go with 3 out of 5 pumpkins. There's a lot that could be done with it to make it better. That's why it's not going to the 4 or 5 range. However, with the limited budget it has and kind of limited settings, it really works well. So 3 out of 5 pumpkins. All right, y'all. Night number 9, The Lazarus Effect. Let me know if you've seen this. If you did, what do you think? If not, let me know if you're going to watch it. Once you do, come back and let me know what you think. With that, I will see you tomorrow for night 10. Have a lovely, safe weekend. I love you all.